A pleasant day to our distinguished panel of reactors and participants to this first University Research Development and Extension Colloquium and Annual In-House Review. I am Vanessa Asaias, and on behalf of my co-researchers, Mr. Jhonnel Villegas and Dr. Bauyot, it is my pleasure to present this study titled Values Orientation of OBU MANUVUS Towards the Philippine Brown Deer, Rusa marianna. This study is part of the university-funded project under the Gender and Development Center. Aside from its ecological functions, the Philippine brown deer is also known to have a cultural value, making it a cultural keystone species. In fact, the deer was declared as pusaka, sanctifying its inherent value to the life, culture, and history of the OBU MANUVUS in Davao City. However, the deer population has continued to decline over the past 3 decades as a result of deforestation, habitat loss, and degradation, as well as subsistence hunting. Previous studies demonstrated that underlying environmental values orientation determine a person's beliefs and behaviors about human and nature connection. With this, the study investigated the values orientation of OBU MANUVUS towards the Philippine brown deer using the wildlife-oriented hierarchy model. Values orientation was further investigated against the social demographic attributes of the OBU MANUVUS, including their gender, age, income, and education. The study was conducted in the OBU Manuvu ancestral domain in Bauyot District, Davao City, Davao del Sur, where tribal leaders have proclaimed certain places as pusaka, or the sacred ground of the tribe. The research area comprised 4 barangays: Carmen, Tawan-Tawan, Tambobong, and Salaysay, as shown in this map. A survey questionnaire on values orientation was adopted from published literature. The survey consisted of 2 sections. First, socio-demographic profile, and second, values orientation. The first section comprises information such as the respondent's age, gender, monthly income, and educational background. The second section measures values orientation and has 28 indicators grouped into 8 categories, adopted from Whitaker et al. In 2006, changing the context into deer conservation. The 8 categories were further grouped into 2 values orientation on deer conservation, namely protection use values orientation and appreciation values orientation. The indicators were rated on a 5-point agree-disagree Likert scale. This table summarizes the socio-demographic information of the respondents. The research team interviewed 63 forest guards from 4 barangays, namely Carmen, Salaysay, Tambobong, and Tawan-Tawan. 87% of the respondents were male and 13% were female. The average income per month was 3,937, which is less than the average monthly income of the lowest income group in the country. In terms of their educational background, majority has enrolled in formal education. However, only 5 reached the secondary level and only 1 pursued higher education. 55 were in elementary, whereas 2 of them did not attend any formal school. This table summarizes the responses under the wildlife use category. Approximately 65% of the respondents strongly agreed, 33% agreed, and only 2% disagreed that humans should manage deer populations in a way that maximizes human well-being. The replies differed on the acceptability of causing the loss of a number of deer for human use. Notably, while there were no statistically significant differences between the female and male groups, all females either strongly disagreed or disagreed with this statement. In addition, the mean scores for the indicator questions on wildlife use indicated a consistent pattern of values held by people independent of their gender, age, educational level, or income. In the area of hunting, the overwhelming majority of participants refute the notion that hunting teaches people to appreciate deer and environment. On the contrary, 73% of respondents felt that hunting is brutal to deer. No statistically significant differences were observed in the respondents' values on hunting in terms of gender, age, educational attainment, and income. The majority of respondents either agreed or strongly agreed that the rights of humans and deer are equally essential. There were no significant statistical variations in the respondents' values orientation about wildlife rights across gender, age, educational level, or income. In addition, the majority of respondents also believe that people should avoid inflicting pain and suffering on deer, regardless of the benefit. The mean scores for the indicator statements about wildlife welfare revealed a similar pattern of values held by individuals regardless of their gender, their income as well. Notably, significant statistical differences were observed in the responses in terms of the respondents' age and educational attainment. 98% of the respondents stated that they like seeing deer when they visit the forest. 95% cited seeing deer as one of their most memorable forest experiences, and 95% stated that seeing deer is one of the reasons they visit the forest. Statistically, there were no significant differences in the respondents' recreational appreciation of deer across gender, age, income, and educational attainment. There were also no statistically significant differences in the respondents' residential appreciation of deer by gender, age, income, or level of education. All respondents also strongly agreed that it is fundamental to learn about deer and have the opportunity to do so. Additionally, they all loved learning about the deer. The mean scores for the indicator statements regarding wildlife learning also showed a consistent pattern in the respondents' values, irrespective of gender, age, and income. Interestingly, statistically significant variations in the respondents' answers were found in terms of educational level. No statistical differences were observed in the responses for the existence category across gender and age. On the other hand, income and educational attainment presented statistically significant values. This table shows the values of the mean and standard deviation of each category in the values orientation scale. Overall, the mean of all protection use indicators was 3.93, indicating a moderate protection values orientation, whereas all appreciation indicators was 4.42, implying high appreciation values orientation among the respondents. This table summarizes the results of the test of correlation. This shows a negligible relationship between values orientation and gender. A weak association was also found between values orientation and age, as well as with income. Interestingly, the community's values orientation and educational attainment showed negative and statistically significant relationship. The research findings agreed with those of earlier studies that revealed very minor correlations between values orientation and demographic factors. The findings in this study may suggest that there are other factors affecting environmental values orientation. Culture, for one, may modify the association between demographic factors and values orientation, as suggested by other researchers. Despite the fact that the associations between demographic characteristics and value orientation were minimal, it is crucial to note that women were slightly more protection-oriented than men, which is consistent with past findings. This study also demonstrated that OBU MANUVUS of all ages share a similar environmental values orientation. And in addition, income was positively, albeit weakly connected to values orientation, similar to other research. The average income in the sampling sites was low, and the lack of correlation could be due to the fact that all of the respondents, regardless of their income, have direct experiences with deer conservation. In conclusion, this study provided empirical evidence on the moderate protection values orientation of the OBU MANUVUS towards the Philippine brown deer. Overall, the study found weak relationship between values orientation and socio-demographic attributes, implying that OBU MANUVUS hold consistent values orientation regardless of their gender, age, and income. The negative relationship between values orientation and educational level, though significant, needs to be investigated further to gain more conclusive results. Additionally, we have to look into factors that are likely linked to environmental values orientation. Similarly, policymakers may reconsider designing environmental policies and campaign targeted at socio-demographics given its weak and negligible association with values orientation towards conservation.